And I mean, that just brings me to my next point. I mean, the title of this podcast is Entitlement. And that's because, like, you know, even with the Joe Budden podcast, right? Like, if y'all don't know much about that podcast, that's fine. That's neither here nor there. But the biggest part of their breakup, I feel, was entitlement between, you know, the co-host that was on there versus Joe Budden, who, you know, that's his IP. It's his network. That's his show. And for sure, the other two previous co-hosts, I'm saying, like, they gonna watch this. Rory and Maul, the other two co-hosts, wanted equity in the company, and they didn't necessarily agree with the business decisions that Joe was making. And there was words that was thrown around that was seen as disrespectful, like, you know, them asking Joe about the business decisions and him saying this is none of your business. Where it's like, well, we grew this podcast to be where it was because of us three. But Joe is saying, like, I understand, but this is mine.
Yeah.
I will pay y'all generously. Like, I got y'all, but this is my product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Joe gave them, this is a fact, Joe gave them full creative control as far as their likeness goes. Like, they can go off and do, you know, any other shows, any other or not podcasts, but like they wanted to do a piece of content that they wanted to own, they could. But as far as what related to his podcast, like, that's his shit, right? And I feel like the entitlement portion comes up when you're blessed with an opportunity, but rather than being grateful, you see it as like, I just want to take. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like what I got from them.
I don't know. I think it was wrong on both sides of that situation. I get this Joe's podcast and then he built it up and all of that, but at the same time, like, these are your co-hosts and they are also part of the brand. And I get that. Hey, like, yeah, I started this from the ground up. I ownership, but I don't know. I'm the type of person who, like, if I start something and breaks people on, like, sure, I'm not gonna give them like controlling stake, but like, if there's been a significant impact from when you were brought on and like this shit goes up, like, yeah, like equity kind of just makes sense at a point. I feel like personally, but I also understand. Yeah, like I understand from his point of view where it's like, well, this is my shit. Like, I think that it's none of your business. None of your business is kind of crazy. That's like man to man. Like that's some shit like you trying to fucking fight. Like,
but you know that's probably just like in the heat of a moment. And I would think...
Yeah, and I mean, knowing Joe also, when he gets heated, like, just seeing other podcasts and shit, like, I can see why some shit just came off.
Joe even went back and be like, I shouldn't have said that. Like, it was the heat of the moment, male ego, we arguing about business and all that shit I'm arguing about business with my friends, like, what the fuck are we doing type shit. Like, so and Joe says off the wall shit all the time. So, given that, especially Maul knew him for, I think they said, like, over 15 years or some crazy shit, it's like, why were you surprised that he said that in the heat of the argument?
Yeah,
which is fucked. I mean, I'm not giving him.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like at a certain point, like, I don't know. I've been known to say wild shit on occasion, but I feel like
you pulled up in the chat room talking around like shit.
Chill.
Get to it.
But I feel like even with that, like, you have to learn how to have a debate and like not be emotional, and especially with shit like that. Like, I feel like, yeah, it's emotional, but like man to man, like, I just feel like at a certain point, most niggas know that, like, you have up until here, past here, we fight. Like, regardless of who's in the right, who's in the wrong, how we feel, like, hands, nigga.
Yeah, and that's how Maul felt for sure.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, regardless of how long I known this nigga, like, I'm used to him he says crazy shit all the time. Like, bro, you're not finna just come at me sideways like that. Like, what the fuck, nigga? Like, yes, this is your shit. Like, yes, this is your shit. I respect that you started it, all of it. You brought me on. I assisted. But, like, at the end of the day, it's your shit. But, like, bro, it's none of my business. Like, what the fuck is you talking about right now, nigga? Like, the hell? Like,
I don't know, man. I feel like there was a lot of decisions that, and a lot of other pieces besides just the recording of that podcast that Joe had to worry about. So he's not wrong. He should have worded it differently. Being an emotional person, I can understand how he said that fuck shit, because that was fuck shit. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's not wrong. Like, and that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, but from where you're coming from, the same standpoint of their friends, he should know that. Like, they should know that he says wild shit. Like, if you my friend, respect me enough to be like, yo, like, I'm not trying, like, respect me enough to either one, come back to that shit, like, at a different point when you're, like, we're both heated right now. Like, let's take a step back because this is like a real conversation. Like, because your friend's bringing up a valid concern at the end of the day, and like just like you're worried about the people you got to take care of, they're probably also worried about the people they got to take care of. So I feel like having that long friendship, and especially for 15 years, just be able to stop in the moment and be like, yo, like, let me chill out.
It's a communication error. And so if you're willing, if you actually have tenure with whoever that person is, that's why I brought up the whole father thing. Mm-hmm. It's different from who's it coming from, but the actual foundation of it is the same as far as, like, that's fucked up. I know you're emotional. Because I'm emotional too. We're both emotional. We might jar at it now, but if we're really homies, like, we'll address this when the emotions are light. And I'm not going to just hold you to the one fucked up thing that you said. I've said fucked up stuff to people and had to go back like, I was kind of just speaking out of tongue. I was emotional. I ain't mean that. But in the heat of the moment, like, if you're getting emotions off, like, that's just what you're doing. It's not a right or a wrong. It's just is. No, I'm just saying, like, if you've been in a long-term relationship, whether that's a friendship or, like, a romantic relationship, you're going to butt heads with whoever that person is. And you're going to say shit that's just, like, out of character for you. Or if it is in character, you're just not going to necessarily mean it, but you're saying it in the heat of the moment. And I feel like both sides should have the knowledge to recognize when there's just emotions coming out and not much logic or not much proper communication. And, you know, that's not necessarily to side with Joe or side with the other two people, but it was more so just speaking like, the fact is you have a platform. I'm giving you a platform and you're very well taken care of. Y'all are coming at me because I'm supposed to be, you thinking I'm supposed to be doing this stuff in business. I don't want to conduct my business like that. I feel like at that point, that's where it should have broken off. They made the decision to stick around and things got worse and worse and worse and they had a major fallout to where I feel like they didn't pivot. Both sides. Both sides handled it wrong.
And I mean, I can also empathize with Joe, which, like, I feel like when you're taking care of all this and when you're taking care of all this and you feel like people who are supposed to have your back are questioning you, it's kind of just like out of left field. It's like, when
you know, like, you're niggas is getting money.
Like, not to take entire credit, but like a low key chill out because I'm the reason you on in the first place. But
and he could have said some shit like, at least he did, because I could see him saying some shit like that.
Like, you coming at me sideways, but like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. So let's
see
get
them J's you got on, OG.
Right.
Them kind of nice. But, you know,
let's get that out of the way. But I don't know, man. Like,
it's a slippery
it's
slope.
It's wrong on both sides.
It's wrong on both sides.
And I mean, it's always difficult when you mix friends and businesses like that. But I feel like you just, at the end of the day, you got it. And I also feel like it wasn't just that shit he said. Mm-hmm. Like, they had, because, like, even regardless if he flashed out in the moment, I feel like, and even if you wanted to come to blows, I still feel like if they had a 15-year friendship, there was probably another conversation about it. But it probably had a similar energy. And, like, you can't, at some point, the issue has to resolve. You can't just get emotional about it every time the topic is brought up.
Regardless, Maul didn't speak to Joe. This is nasty. I kind of want to break this away from them. But fuck it, I'm with the drama right now.
That's crazy.
Joe reached back out to Maul to have, like, a sit-down meeting. And Joe actually went to therapy with the other co-host, Rory. Like, he put them in therapy to kind of, like, work out what they've been going through, which is crazy because, like, I got a lot of respect for that. Like, it wasn't no, like, stunt. Like, there was no content from that. It was just, like, man to man, like, let's work this shit out. And he tried to do a similar thing with Maul, the dude he no longer, but he wasn't answering his calls. It wasn't meeting and shit like that.
If that's the case, then I feel like they had shit before.
They would have to have shit before. Or he just had bottled emotions that he just wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there was something that he's dealing with. There's something that he didn't like about Joe that had to have happened before. Because I feel like, especially a 15-year friendship, like, I don't have any 15. I don't have any 15. I don't have any 15-year friends at this point. Like, they aren't, like, cousins, like black people cousins. So,
yeah, type shit.
Like, to just throw all that shit down the drain, there had to be something.
There would have to.
Off of one conversation, there had to be something. Like, he was either building up resentment or some shit. Not like speaking to that man's like.
Yeah, right. But of course.
That was definitely not. That was the straw that broke the camel's back type shit. That was not a singular incident. Just did all that. Especially if the other co-host was willing to, like, talk it out and shit. Like, you holding on to something, bro. Like,
Y'all hear that train? Don't matter.
None of my
But
business.
yeah, there would have had to been something else building up because Maul kept referencing the "it's not your business" thing when they were having like the podcast to kind of explain what was happening, and Joe kept saying like, I ain't mean like that. Like,
Yeah.
am I wrong? No. But did it come out wrong? Yes. Like Joe was saying like, why are you so stuck up on that? But as a viewer, I was like, there had to have been. Whether he was hating from afar or just feeling like Joe is, because he also said Joe's wearing a Miri hats a lot. So obviously you're pocket watching at that point. Yeah. But him being the boss, like, he's going to have some nice shit. Like, the nigga.
Yeah, and I mean, also, him being the boss. Like, let's not forget that Joe Budden was a part of Slaughterhouse, and they didn't make the most. But, like, I mean, he was a part of a whole rap collective. Like, he had a career before this.
It has a huge single still with Pump It Up. That shit.
He
never will die.
He did shit before the podcast and before he brought you on the podcast.
Love and hip hop,
like
TV shows and shit.
This nigga had a bag for a minute. And he's just been growing that bag. So like for you to be pocket watching when you're part of one of this nigga's multiple ventures, kind of like that's kind of weird, bro.
That's where it's like I don't want to necessarily put words in his mouth or make it seem like he was appearing away. But as a viewer, Maul looked kind of like he was looking at his friend in a, like you said, a resentful way. Don't know if that's true or not, but that's just how it appeared, and I didn't really fuck with that because, like, if I have a problem with you, I'll address it, and they never addressed anything. They just let everything boil up. But, I mean, it's just everybody has communication errors. Like, no communication is perfect. You have to fuck up communication to learn how to grow and better communicate. So,
and that is the part of any long-term relationship is communication. Like, if you don't have that channel for communication, it's not gonna work. It don't matter what kind of relationship, romantic, what have you, doesn't matter. Like if there's not that open line of communication, it's fucked. It's chopped.
No matter how long it might seem good, right? It's gonna blow up at some point.
There's always gonna be some shit that's gonna come up.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, if not, you lying to yourself like that ass like, and even that you're swallowing shit, and then that's gonna come to a head at some point. So there's no way to really avoid it.